Good morning, everyone. Thank you for attending our Facebook Live event today for our outreach. Today, we're here to discuss one of our domestic violence grants. Before we do so, I'm just going to do a brief introduction. My name is Joanna Davis. I'm a managing attorney out of the Saratoga Springs office with the Legal Aid Society of Northeastern New York. While LASNNY has a number of domestic violence grants, today we are here to discuss specifically the Domestic Violence Legal Assistance to Victims Grant, which is primarily providing representation for victims of domestic violence in civil legal proceedings, with an emphasis on securing economic benefits for our clients to sustain economic independence. The counties in which we have this grant available for our victim clients are as follows: Clinton, Essex, and Franklin counties from our Plattsburgh regional office, Montgomery County from our Amsterdam regional office, and Columbia and Greene counties from our main office in Albany. If you are a victim or assisting a victim in any one of these 6 counties, you may contact our office, or if you're working with one of our community domestic violence partners, they can help make a referral to our office. Once you contact our office and are eligible for services, you will then be able to speak with an attorney to get legal advice and possible representation. Today, we are very excited to have Kelly Gilligan and Demikia Santana from the Catholic Charities of Fulton and Montgomery counties to present on domestic violence. Kelly?
Good morning, everyone, and thank you, Joanna, for inviting us here today. My name is Kelly Gilligan, and I am the program director here at Montgomery County Domestic Violence in Amsterdam. I want to thank the Legal Aid Society for partnering with us on this. And I want to introduce you to one of our 5 legal advocates that we have here in our office, Demikia Santana, who has been in the field for 10 years. She works daily out of the family court here in Fonda, New York, and also in our DA's office daily with the victims of domestic violence. Demikia?
Good morning. Again, my name is Demikia Santana, and I have been in the field for about 10 years now. So I just wanted to touch base a little bit about what domestic violence is. For most people, it may appear to be a physical thing, but it's much more than that. Domestic violence is when a person does things to control someone else in an intimate relationship. A shift in power can happen so slowly over time that the other person may not even remember when it happened. It can also happen quickly after some sort of commitment or change in the relationship. But the physical abuse is one of many ways a partner may try to gain power and control. So some things you might want to ask yourself if you think you may be in a domestic violence relationship or simply an unhealthy relationship. You can ask yourself questions like, are you being hit, punched, slapped, strangled, kicked, shoved? A partner may punch a wall right next to you for intimidation, threaten to hurt you and your children, friends and family to keep you afraid. They may have sudden outbursts of anger or rage. The financial aspects looks like control of your money or your bank accounts, credit cards, even your car. You're sometimes prevented from seeing your family or friends. People tend to withhold medication or deny access to healthcare. You may find that denying access for our immigration population of their documents if they're threatening to leave the individual. They may threaten to out you, based on your relationship or your status. Tell you how to dress, who to speak to, where to go, destroy your personal property, throw things, abuse or threaten to kill your pets, force you to have sex when you don't want to, or do things that you don't want to do, call you derogatory racial or sexual names. We offer different services to help. The great part is about getting supportive counseling. So through counseling, you might be able to recognize some of these signs or some of these behaviors that people are displaying. So through crisis intervention and safety planning, We can do it over the phone or in person. Everybody's situation is a little different, so planning looks a little bit differently. We can also assist with 24-hour hotline crisis services. So in an event that something is happening in the middle of the night, we have a 24-hour line that can be reached at any time. You can get someone on the phone to safety plan or find a safe place to go, or at least connect you to the right services. In every county, there should be some type of domestic violence assistance. We also offer, as I would touch base on shelter, we have an unstaffed shelter that we try to place our victims and survivors in for further safety situations. So we can assist in, getting them housing again and whatever the service they may need. We also do outreach to the community through tabling events. We partner with random community partners to do different tabling events. We also do referrals in addition to those outreach programs where we connect people to legal aid. So for further assistance with their legal issues with family offense petitions or custody. We also would like to get our groups back soon so that we can do a little bit more help to the community who are in need of just reaching out to having someone to talk to, maybe in a small group, but COVID. We also offer 911 cell phones so people have access to at least reach out for help, because everybody is not able to do it. And through some situations, we also can get compensation for survivors through Office of Victim Services for further assistance. So in addition to all of that, domestic violence is really hard for folks to recognize or even realize that they're in, again, because most people think it's physical. And a lot of it is emotional, and emotional breakdown. It takes some time for it to happen. And before you know it, you have lost a part of yourself to make the next person happy. But there is help for these services, for these situations. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Tamika. That was wonderful. Just as Tamika had said, that there are domestic violence agencies in each county throughout New York State. So if you are not residing in Fulton, Montgomery County, and you are looking for domestic violence assistance, you can contact, you can look up a domestic violence agency within your county and make contact if you just want to just talk to an advocate and see what is going on, and just discuss your what's happening in your relationship. Next is our attorney, Jerry Schaefer. She is our domestic violence attorney from our Plattsburgh regional office. She is very experienced, and she will now be speaking regarding the LAV services for Clinton, Essex, and Franklin counties.
Welcome, everyone. As Joanna just said, my name is Jerry Schaefer. I'm a staff attorney in the Plattsburgh office. The Plattsburgh office covers Clinton, Essex, Franklin, and also Hamilton counties, although the LAV grant does not cover that one county for this purposes of this recording or presentation. We work very closely with Stop Domestic Violence, who is our local DV provider for those three counties. They offer the same services and as Tamika was just outlining that her agency provides. For anybody out there listening, I'll put the number out there. That's 518-563-6904. They really do a great job in trying to assist clients in multiple ways, and networking through the system, so I can't say enough good about them. So the LAV grant, I guess, has put a focus on assisting people with economic aspects. And I do assist people in a lot of divorce actions. So in a divorce action, the one area I want to focus on is what's called equitable distribution. And what that is it's part of a divorce where everyone looks to see what marital assets are there, what marital debts, what are they? What's their value? And how are we going to distribute them between the parties? And it's a very complex issue and part of the divorce. It's got many multiple layers. I guess for the purposes of this little webinar, I would say that one of the things I encounter a lot is that clients seem to think they know what marital property is when I first talk to them. And it's always, well, this is his and this is mine. And that's not the way marital assets work. So the one thing I would put out there for everyone is that when we're looking at marital assets, it's good to seek the advice of an attorney so that you know what a marital asset is. It doesn't matter whose name is on it. That's not the law. So coming to our agency, when someone's been served a divorce, or even if they're thinking about getting a divorce, to try to get an idea of what they're looking at. Many people have no idea what's at stake in a divorce, and especially DV victims, they're kind of frazzled, they're kind of weary. Sometimes they just want to get it over with. And so to be able to sit down with them and kind of review, gee, I think these are the issues that based on the information that you're telling me, you could have an interest in this marital property or that marital property, and to put it into perspective for them. So at least if they make a decision, they've made an informed decision as to what they want to pursue, what they don't want to pursue. Now I said a lot in a nutshell. There's many different layers to that. But I do think that representing DV clients in divorces is a very important act, because there are so many who don't know what their interests are, what their rights are. And once a divorce is done, it's final. You can't go back 5 years later and say, oh, I could have gotten part of that pension. I could have gotten part of something else. And I think the statistics are out there that many, particularly women after divorce, fare worse financially. And our purpose in my eyes is to try to rectify that situation. I don't know what more I could offer. One last thing, and how will the assets be divided? A lot of people reach agreements between the two parties, but if people can't reach an agreement, there's a list of statutory factors that the court will use then to decide how marital assets or debt will be divided. So that's like a quick little overview of the process, what could be at stake, what we could try to help someone with. And thank you.
Thank you, Jerry. That was a very, very quick nutshell. Much appreciated. Thank you for your hard work. Next is Trevor Flip. He is our attorney out of our Montgomery, who is covering LAV for Montgomery County out of our Amsterdam office. And Trevor will be going ahead and speaking about spousal support.
Hi, I'm Trevor Flake, as Joanna said. So I just want to talk briefly about spousal support. In New York, spouses have a duty to support each other as long as they're married. And, spousal support is, it's different from maintenance in that it's for people that are married and it's done through the family court. And, you file a petition in the family court to get it going. And basically there's just a statutory formula that's used. But the judge has different factors that he can consider to deviate from the formula, and they have a lot of discretion. There's listed factors, and then there's just anything that they find to be a reason to deviate. And I think in DV cases, spousal support can be important because financial control is something that, abusers can use. A lot of times it's, obviously many times the men have, are the moneyed spouse rather than the wife. So, spousal support can be important for, the wife or, any victim of domestic violence to get out on their own and, get out from financial control from, the other spouse. And spousal support is a little different than maintenance in that there's not a time limit on it, but usually it will end when the judgment of divorce is signed, or it can be incorporated into the divorce, at the end if that's part of the agreement. And the court will look at, you'll have to file a lot of financial information with the court, pay stubs, most recent tax returns. There's a financial disclosure form so that all the information is out there for both sides. The attorneys, well, not always attorneys, a lot of times people represent themselves in these cases, but they have to be disclosed to both sides. And hopefully the other spouse follows the order, but if they don't, you have the option to file an enforcement petition with the court. And if the other spouse doesn't pay, they can be held in contempt of court. So there are, ways to try to make, people comply. So, as I said, the judge will basically input numbers into the formula, and then look at certain factors if they're going to deviate from the amount. And that's pretty much it in a nutshell. Like I said, it's important, I think, spousal support and maintenance, because it, like I said, it does allow a victim to try to get some financial independence and not have to, as D'Amico was talking about, some of the things that abusers do to control the person that's being abused. And I think financially is one of the big issues. That's it.
Thank you, Trevor. Last, we have Brendan Sansevero. He is our attorney out of our Albany office, who's handling the LAV grant for Columbia and Greene counties. And he will be discussing child support through the family court.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Brendan Sansevero. I join a set of covered Columbia and Greene counties with the LAV grant. Before I start, by the way, I may use gender terms like she or the wife. The vast majority of the cases we handle, involve a survivor of domestic abuse who is a woman, but none of this, is determined by gender. We do and have represented men or non-binary people, and it doesn't matter what your gender is or what your relationship is as to whether you would be entitled to child support. Okay, so child support, it doesn't matter if you're married, you were married, never married. Parents have a duty to support their children in New York State up until age 21. And there is a fairly recent statutory update, the Family Court Act 413B, that certain disabled adult children also will remain eligible for child support up until age 26. That usually applies to children with developmental disabilities. So something to keep in mind, but typically for all children, it's up to age 21. And so with child support, the person who is not the custodial parent pays the custodial parent. It doesn't matter what your relative incomes are. If you are the custodial parent, you are entitled to child support from the non-custodial parent. That means the parent who has physical custody of the child most of the time. So if it's a 50-50 situation, truly a 50-50 sharing of custody of the child, then the higher income parent will pay. But otherwise, if you are the custodial parent, it doesn't matter if your income is more or less, you would be entitled to receive the child support. And so for the most part, it's a pretty straightforward formula. The non-custodial parent, pays 17% of the combined parental income as both of your incomes for one child 25% if you have 2 children, and up until at least 35% if you have 5 or more children. If the spouse or the other parent of the child is a salaried employee, it's pretty simple. It's like a financial disclosure form, like Trevor said, for spousal support. Goes by your tax return. If you make $30,000, $40,000, $100,000 a year, you just apply the percentage to that, and that's what that parent will be paying. You can initiate the proceeding if you need to. There are forms on newyorkcourts.gov. There are child support forms, as well as a number of other family court forms, like family offense petitions that would lead to an order of protection, or spousal support that you can find online. And you can do those yourself. Oftentimes we have clients who will do those themselves and then reach out to us. And if we are able to represent you, we can then amend the petition if necessary. So that's something to be aware of. Keep in mind, if the other spouse is not a salaried employee, if they work irregularly or they're an independent contractor, the calculations may be a little more difficult. You may need to look back at tax returns and figure out what their expected earnings are. Just a little bit more complicated than applying it to a straight salary figure. And that goes up, the child support obligation goes up to a somewhat of a soft cap at $154,000. If the combined parental income is more than that, then the court can start to take into account different factors. They don't have to apply the formula beyond that amount. They can, but they can look at other factors like the needs of the child and what the relative incomes are of the parties. When you're receiving child support, you have the options, either receive it yourself or to have, most counties have a support collections unit that can do it. And, I found that that's a good option. If you do it, there is a relatively small fee of approximately $50 a year to have the support collections unit collect the payments from the parent that has to pay and then deliver them to you. The benefits of that are they got records on it. Okay, so if you ever have to look back and find out if somebody has been paying, then they keep those records for you and you don't have to do it yourself. And they can notify an employer and make sure that the wages are deducted. And they can also initiate proceeding to find somebody in violation. So there are some benefits of that if you can afford the administrative fee that comes along with it. Once you have an award, if you've already got an existing award or you have one, it can be modified. It's not set in stone. In order to modify it, usually, court expects you to wait about 3 years unless there's been a substantial change in circumstance. And usually that kicks in at the 15% change in earnings in either direction. So if the other parent all of a sudden gets a much better job and they are earning 20-25% more, you can file a petition to modify that custody award. But again, it would then just be the straight formula up into the cap. So that's something to keep in mind. You don't have to just stick with the amount that you've got if all of a sudden the other parent increases their earnings. Other thing to keep in mind is there is the possibility to impute income to another parent. So if you have another parent who is either not working voluntarily or is underemployed voluntarily, then you could ask a court to base the child support on what they should be earning. And, in places like Columbia and Greene County, there are a lot of job opportunities available right now for $15 an hour or more, even just at a Stewart's or the local Walmart. So if you have a partner or a former partner who is not working voluntarily, you can ask the court to base it on that. Most recently, around awards for somebody who's earning around minimum wage. I've had it around $80 a week. So if somebody's not working because they don't want to, keep in mind there is an avenue available to get child support. Even so, similar if another partner or ex-partner loses a job, they will not be entitled to have their child support eliminated unless they show that it wasn't their fault that their employment was lost and that they're making a diligent effort to find new employment. So those are the basics of child support. I'll just give a mention to a community organization that we work with in Columbia and Greene County office, Community Action of Greene County, Inc., based out of Catskill. They do great work. They refer matters to us often so they can help you with filing a family offense petition to get an order of protection. They're very good at that. They're very experienced at that. And that is often the fastest way to do it rather than trying to contact our office, especially for an order of protection, which you may need as soon as possible. They can be found online at cagcny.org. Between them and us, if you need assistance in Columbia and Greene County, please do contact us. Thanks.
Thank you, Brendan. So while we specifically only mentioned matrimonial and matrimonial proceedings with economic benefits, spousal support, and child support, there are other economic benefits that the LAV grant can also assist with, such as public benefits, unemployment benefits. We didn't have enough time today to discuss those avenues, but again, if you're a victim of domestic violence, you have the ability to contact our office and or work with your domestic violence agency and get a referral to our office to discuss these issues if you have any questions. Thank you everyone today. We do have some questions that have come in. And so Kelly and D'Amica, I'll actually refer these to you because the questions are about how our clients can work with our community partners. So the first question that was asked was how, if there's an order of protection and there's a understanding that the abuser knows where the victim is residing because they were either living together or they just happen to know each other's address and they're being stalked or the victim is being stalked, what type of planning can be used in order to keep the victim safe?
So I can start with this one. Well, first of all, we do have the 24-hour hotline available, and I'll give that really quick, 518-842-3384. So the advocates are on call 24 hours a day. We work very closely with law enforcement, our local Amsterdam police and the sheriff, so they can be on scene in a heartbeat. We can relocate them to our shelter. It's in an undisclosed location in the middle of the night or in an adjoining county. We have partnerships with a lot of undisclosed hotels and motels in and out of the county. So the advocates will work with them even to relocate them to another state. So there's lots of options available if the abuser knows where they live.
Thank you. And then the second question is that, do you know of any programs that are available to assist victims of domestic violence into either getting into an apartment or assisting with any sort of security payments or assistance with security payments or first month's rent at this time?
Yes, absolutely. Again, if you call our office, we have many programs right now. There's a lot of DV money available right now. We have a rapid rehousing program. We work with subsidized programs. I attend many housing meetings weekly, coordinated entry. We work with legal aid. They have prevention money right now, so we can make a referral to legal aid. There's DV bonus money available. So there's lots of programs right now. If you call our office, we'd be happy to help you with seeing what we can do to get you into apartments.
Thank you. I don't see any more questions that are popping up right now, but if anyone's watching and you have any questions, oh wait, we do have a question. I'm sorry about that. So the question is asking, what if it's a male victim of domestic violence? And is there, what can domestic violence agencies do? I can say that the Legal Aid Society, we have helped men, women, non-binary. There's no, I guess, like need to be a female victim of domestic violence. We help all victims of domestic violence.
And the same with Catholic Charities. We help all genders. We serve all people is what we say. So call our office, even for our shelter. There's no discrimination. We can help and shelter all people. Same with the apartments. I also just too want to say that there's texting available. So if you can't speak and your abuser is around you, the national number too is 1-800-799-SAFE. And for texting for nationally, you can text the word START to 88788. Or our office, the girls have cell phones, they have texting availability. We also have Facebook pages for domestic violence for our office. So we have messaging on that. So there's lots of ways you can communicate with the girls.
So when it's a conflict of interest for different parties, we try to refer to the closest next county to the county that the person is from. And it's basically to try to keep the distance between the victims in the situation. So that's one of the solutions that we have when it's a conflict of interest.
Joanna, there's a question in the Q&A as well.
The one about putting all the numbers and the websites in the chat? Yes. If everyone can please put the numbers for their respective agencies, and you can absolutely go ahead and do that as well. But also there is a national number. You can also look up each, if you're unsure of who your domestic violence provider is, you can go to the OPDV website for New York State, and they will have a listing for each county, who the domestic violence provider is, so that you can contact them. Most domestic violence providers, if not all, have 24-hour assistance, so that if it's not safe to call in the night, if you can only call in the day or vice versa, they can go ahead and have contact and speak with an advocate to discuss your situation and see whether, what assistance is needed, what referrals are needed. And so I would really encourage you to reach out if it's safe to do so, and do so at a time that makes the most sense for your safety.
Joanna,
Thank you, everyone.
sorry, there's also one more question about talking. Can you talk more about safety for victims whose partners are in law enforcement?
Yes, I'm sorry. I just saw the chat and I just saw the question. Thank you, Jennifer. So the question for, oh no, where did it go? It just like disappeared. So, but Kelly and D'Amica, the question was about talking about safety planning when the abuser is a member of law enforcement.
So we try to also relocate the person to the safest place where they can be, outside of the county that they're from. We do encourage people to actually have the commanding officer sometimes notified in regards to the situations that are happening. But if not, we definitely try to get the person still out of the county. It's hard for sometimes people when they don't have family elsewhere. So we just be supportive as we possibly can to the person, no matter where they go.
And I want to say we've had this come up in the past, and we have a very good partnership with our local Sheriff Smith and with Chief Thomas. And they're on our task force team. We have a DV task force team here at Catholic Charities, and we have discussed it with them before, and we really have a good partnership with them. So in our county, at least, we would relocate them, as D'Amica said, but I would speak to them.
And regarding safety planning, if you are represented by any one of our domestic violence attorneys at LASNNY, we also do our own separate safety planning, sometimes in partnership with our DV advocates, if our clients would like to do so, or separately, whichever what makes our clients the most comfortable. But that specifically should be discussed with your attorney and your advocate, because that is probably the most important aspect of leaving your abuser is safety planning. I don't see any more questions, but if you do have any more questions, again, please reach out to your domestic violence provider. You can also contact our office to see if you are eligible for our services. But again, thank you to all all our panelists today. I really appreciate all of your words and wisdom and appreciate your time. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Joanna. Just so everyone is also aware, the recording will be available hopefully tomorrow on Facebook, on our website, and on our YouTube channel. Our website's on LASNNY.org, and then it would be under self-help. So thank you very much for attending, and I am going to end everything right now. Oh, wait, one more question. Sorry if we have time. Do you guys have time? 35. It says long ago, and Joanna,
Yes.
under messages. I don't know if you want to read it.
Yes, I just saw the message come in. What I would say is that if anyone is looking for legal advice before they are leaving their abuser, they can contact our office to speak with an attorney. They just have to be eligible for our services, but they should absolutely speak with an attorney first before there's any plans to take any sort of belongings, because we just don't know. Without knowing more information, I think it's too difficult to answer this question. But the best thing I can say is, if you have any questions, and if you're worried about what could happen, may happen, speak to a lawyer for free, because that's probably the best avenue in terms of protecting your rights and knowing your rights legally. And then again, that's the best partnership that you can have, working with an agency like Classic Charities of Fulton Montgomery and working in partnership with legal aid.
And I just want to mention too that everything is confidential, and the advocates will go to court with you. They will communicate with you. So they'll help you with the paperwork. So give us a call. Thank you.